Welcome back to the Safety Edge podcast, where safety leaders sharpen their edge. I'm Charles Edgar, your safety leadership coach. In this podcast, we explore the real dilemmas safety leaders face on site and in the workplace. Not textbook examples, not perfect scenarios, but the challenging, uncomfortable human moments when there's no obvious right answer and the pressure is real. And in each episode, we unpack one real-world leadership dilemma and explore how adopting a coaching mindset can make the difference. Not by controlling people, but by sharpening how we think, listen, and lead. This season focuses on leadership under pressure to explore what happens to safety when urgency compresses thinking. And in the previous episode, we explored the situation when leaders send mixed signals, creating a conflict of stated values versus rewarded behaviors. In today's episode, we are exploring something even more deceptive when metrics look good, but risk is growing, creating a conflict of success versus learning. Because sometimes, when the metrics look so good, they could mask the fact that risk is actually building up beneath the surface. Let's unpack the dilemma. Picture this. You are in a safety review meeting with the leadership team. The safety dashboard is up on the screen. No recordable injuries. Strong audit scores. All targets are met yet again. There's a sense of relief in the room. Everything looks perfect. But is it really? Someone says, looks like safety is under control. Another adds, best quarter we've had in years. And on paper, they're actually right. But as the safety leader, you feel something else. Something subtle building up from within. Near-miss reports are down, not slightly, but sharply. Toolbox talks sound likely scripted. People hesitate before answering simple safety questions. No alarms are going off. Nothing is broken, but something just doesn't feel right. It's quiet, too quiet. And now you are in a dilemma. Do you celebrate the success and stay silent? Do you question the numbers and risk sounding negative? Do you raise concerns with no incident to point to? Because challenging good results can sometimes feel so uncomfortable, and in some cases, could even be mistaken for disloyalty. Why is this a true leadership dilemma? This situation isn't about bad intent. It's about how systems respond to success. When metrics are celebrated and rewarded, people tend to protect them. And when numbers are praised, people tend to avoid anything that might threaten them. Slowly, reporting becomes more selective. Learning becomes too risky. All of a sudden, silence feels more safer than curiosity. Not because people don't care, but because they care too much about looking good and staying green. This is where safety leadership becomes really challenging. Because the absence of harm is often mistaken for the presence of safety. And metrics, which are ordinarily meant to inform, quietly begin to control behaviors. The danger isn't that the numbers are wrong, it's that they stop being questioned. In moments like this, safety leaders often respond in predictable ways. First, we double down on the metrics. We track them harder, report them louder, celebrate them even more. But numbers don't create awareness, they often create comfort. Secondly, we introduce new indicators, more charts, more dashboards, and even more data. But without meaning, more data just tend to create more noise. Thirdly, We wait for a real signal, an incident, a deviation, or even a failure. And by the time that happens, learning is already too late. And sometimes we just say nothing at all. Because questioning success sometimes feels like you're creating a problem where nothing actually exists. But silence has a hidden cost. It teaches the organization that good numbers matter more than honest learning. Now let's see it from the coaching lens. This is where the coaching mindset makes the invisible visible. Not by challenging the results, but by changing the conversation around them. Imagine you are in that leadership meeting. The manager says rather confidently,
"Our safety performance is strong. 0 incidents again this quarter."
You don't criticize. Instead, you say gently, "That's encouraging. Can I ask, what are we learning right now?" Even though nothing has gone wrong, the room suddenly goes quiet. Not defensive, just that they are not used to these types of questions being asked. The manager responds again.
"I'm not sure we talked about that."
You gently follow up. What kinds of events or concerns would people hesitate to report right now? Now there's a shift. A supervisor speaks up, rather carefully.
"Near misses. People sometimes don't want to be the one who break the streak."
That answer really matters, because now the cost of good numbers is gradually becoming visible. You continue. If these metrics stay green for another year, what risk might be quietly increasing in our blind spots? Yet another pause. This time, it's much longer. Engineering responds thoughtfully.
Complacency. We probably would assume all controls are much stronger than they really are.
Now the conversation has changed. The dashboard is no longer the conclusion. It's just the starting point. You ask one final question. What signs would tell us that risk is increasing, even if the numbers still look this good? This time the responses come more quickly. Less reporting. Because people no longer feel the need or do not feel safe to speak up. More scripted conversations, where discussions sound more rehearsed and safe rather than honest and curious. Fewer challenges in meetings, when assumptions go untested and difficult questions are quietly avoided. Early warnings are normalized. Small deviations are explained away rather than explored. Decisions are rushed because past successes create pressure to keep moving instead of pausing to learn. What did you notice there? Nothing dramatic happened. No rules were quoted. No targets were challenged. No authority was used. But awareness has been evoked in the room, and an opportunity for learning has reopened. This approach works because metrics often describe outcomes. Questions reveal conditions. Numbers tell us what happened. Questions help us to see what's forming on the horizon. When leaders ask reflective questions, people feel safe to notice weak signals. Learning becomes acceptable again, and success stops silencing curiosity. This is the edge. Not rejecting metrics, but refusing to be blinded by them. Here's the key insight from this episode. Strong metrics do not necessarily equal low risk. Often they could mean low visibility. Safety leadership is about maintaining curiosity, especially when everything looks fine. Because oftentimes, unmanaged success can be much more just as dangerous as unmanaged failure. As we close, I invite you to reflect on this. Where in your organizations are good numbers, probably creating a false sense of confidence? What questions are no longer being asked because the results look so good? Can you think of one well-placed question that can bring learning back into the room? Do you have the courage to speak up and to ask these questions? As safety leaders, We have a duty to ask these questions, not necessarily to undermine the system, but to evoke awareness, stimulate reflection, and help teams uncover deeper insights. Insights that challenge assumptions, broaden perspectives, and ultimately guide better and more informed decisions. That there is the edge. If today's episode gave you clarity, please leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been faced with a dilemma like this? How did you handle it at the time? And now, with insights from this episode, how would you approach it differently? This episode marks the final conversation in Season 1 of the Safety Edge podcast. Throughout this season, we've explored different scenarios involving leadership under pressure, moments where urgency compresses thinking, where expectations collide, and where leaders are forced to decide in real time what truly matters. We've looked at what happens when production is behind and safety feels like it's in the way, when leaders react instead of respond, when everyone is busy and no one is thinking, and when stated values don't match rewarded behaviors. And in this final episode, we've examined a particular dangerous illusion when the metrics look good, but risk is quietly growing beneath the surface. Across all these scenarios, one theme keeps resurfacing. Leadership under pressure is rarely about not knowing what to do. It's about how pressure shapes attention, judgment, and behavior, and whether leaders create space for thinking before the system forces learning the hard way. Season 1 wasn't about giving answers. It was about slowing moments down long enough to ask better questions. As we close Season 1, we also open the door to what comes next. Season 2 of the Safety Edge podcast will focus on a different but closely connected risk: voice, silence, and psychological safety. In this season, we will examine how leadership responses, systems, and everyday habits often unintentionally suppress voice. How people learn when to stay quiet, which concerns gets raised, and which ones never make it into the room. Because in many organizations, the most dangerous risks aren't the ones people speak about, they are the ones no longer mentioned at all. We hope you join us as we continue the conversation in the upcoming episodes of the Safety Edge podcast. While here, make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to invite a friend or colleague to listen along with you. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Safety Edge podcast. I'm Charles Edgar, your safety leadership coach. And until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and keep sharpening your edge. Bye for now.
Brought to you by the Safety Edge platform, an independent leadership and safety learning platform, building leadership capacity one conversation at a time. Find us wherever you get your podcasts